Sexual and reproductive health is a subject which is not much appreciated for an open discussion in our country. While sexually transmitted infections continue to be one of the major public health concerns, hence, we at MediCircle, which is a dedicated healthcare media portal, are conducting a series on Sexual and Reproductive Health Awareness Day, which is on the 12th of Feb, as celebrated by the WHO. We are trying to raise awareness and educate our audience through these series and also about the different issues related to it and to educate the society to reduce the spread of sexually transmitted infections. I am Smita Sahai Kumar, your host, and today our guest for the show is Dr. Vilvapati Karthikeyan. Dr. Vilvapati is a consultant lead andrology, men's health and urologist, Department of Urology at Sri Narayani Hospital and Research Center in Vellore, Tamil Nadu. He has also received a fellowship in andrology and men's health from Deer's Men Health Center. Hello, Dr. Vilvapati. Welcome to MediCircle.
Hi Smita, how are you?
I am good, doctor, and thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
Thank you for the Sexual and Reproductive Health Awareness Day today. That whatever activity you are doing will be a beneficial one for the audience.
Surely. Thank you, Dr. Vilvapati. So, to begin with, what are the most common sexual problems in men, and what are the best ways to improve the male sexual and reproductive health?
Okay. So we will take this question one by one. So
Yes.
first, we all are seeing andrology and men's health. So I would just like to briefly introduce the subject of andrology for the audience sake. Andrology is a subspecialty of urology that deals specifically with sexual health and reproductive health. So we mainly deal with erectile dysfunction and male infertility and some other things like testosterone deficiency, peyroniesis, etc. These are the other things which come under the umbrella of andrology.
Okay.
So coming to what are the most common sexual problems in men. So as I told, we have two broad categories. One is erectile dysfunction and another is premature ejaculation. But what are the problems? What are the symptoms when a patient will present to the andrology OPD is inability to sustain an erection, inability to stay inside the female's vagina for a long time.
Okay.
So they come and say that they are not able to satisfy their female partner. So that is why they want more intravaginal time. That is, they want to stay inside the female's partner's vagina for a long time. And also some people come and say rarely that they are not able to ejaculate. Like they are able to have a good erection. They are able to self-stimulate and masturbate, but they are not able to ejaculate inside the female partner. And more stronger problems like non-consummation of marriage. So a newlywed couple who has not been able to have a successful intercourse, even for one time. So that is called as non-consummation of marriage. These are the main problems which an andrologist sees.
Okay.
Okay. So coming to the best ways to improve male sexual and reproductive health. So we should understand that sexual health and reproductive health are markers of general well-being of the man. So it has been found that sperm health is a marker of overall health. And as we see, sexual health is a marker of overall health. So let me explain why sexual health is important. Sexual health is having a good erection and being able to sustain it for a long time and then being able to ejaculate at their convenience. So this may not be possible in every man, but the basic thing which you have to understand is the penis has arteries inside which blood flows. So whichever problem happens in the arteries in the penis can after some time happen in the heart or the brain. So this way sexual health is very important. It has been shown that if you have erectile dysfunction, which has been proven to have an arteriogenic cause, that is, there is a reduction in the blood flow inside the penis.
Okay.
It has been shown 3 to 5 years later, they can develop a heart disease.
Oh, is that so?
The treatment. So the question is, what are the best ways to improve the male sexual and reproductive health? The treatment of sexual health is aimed at reducing the chances of heart disease and stroke. So for that, the men's health relies upon 4 basic pillars. One is diet, second is lifestyle, third is exercise, and fourth is de-stressing yourself. So these are the 4 main ways to improve the male sexual and reproductive health.
Coming to this sexual dysfunction problem, which is a common problem in males. So, Dr. Karthikeyan, what are the most common problems related to it and what are its causes?
Okay. So we can divide this into two things. So as I told, it can be divided into getting an erection. There is problem in getting an erection, and second is problems in ejaculation, that is passing the semen out. So for erectile dysfunction, we have some major categories of causes. So one is psychogenic erectile dysfunction. Then we have arteriogenic erectile dysfunction, neurogenic erectile dysfunction. These are the three main groups, and other causes are there. So in order to label a patient as psychogenic erectile dysfunction, we should rule out that there is no other cause. So the blood flow should be okay, the nerve supply should be okay. And then we realize that the male is having some form of anxiety. That is, he is worried about his performance. He is stressed about his own personal life or work, or there can be some familial issues, marital problems. So the main work of the andrologist is to talk with the patient and identify what is there in his mind exactly. So based on this, then we give the suggestion. So it is not like just checking the blood sugar and giving treatment for diabetes. That is not the only thing in andrology and men's health. The main thing is to go into the patient's mind and identify what exactly is causing this problem. We can have a diabetic man who has been having high sugars for a long time, and because of that, he is having arterial cause for erectile dysfunction. In that person, even if you give a lot of counseling, it is not that it's not going to produce any effect. The effect will be only around 20 to 30%. But if a young man who is coming at around 25 years, just got married, not able to have an erection, not able to consummate his wife, that is not able to penetrate, so he will be having that lot of stress and tension in his mind.
Yes.
If they have been there like this for almost 1 year or so, there will be pressure from the family, there will be pressure from the wife's side. All these things we have to identify. So we have our clinic, we see a lot of patients who they go for primary infertility. So that is the other part of the reproductive health. Infertility means not able to conceive the wife even after 1 year of unprotected intercourse. So after 1 year also, if they are not able to have a child, then the couple naturally they go to the doctor. So when they go, all these things are done. The male semen analysis is done, the wife is evaluated, and everything is done. But this question, whether you have consummated, whether you have been able to have a good intercourse, that part is not given importance, because that is not specifically dealt by everybody. Only reproductive medicine people usually follow that. So this is the most important awareness, which from an andrology point of view, I would like to tell today, that if you have an erectile problem, meet the doctor soon, so that there are methods to identify and treat them.
Okay.
This is the main category in erectile dysfunction. So as you asked, there are two, what is the sexual dysfunction in males? What are the categories? So in erectile dysfunction, we have two main things. One is inability to get an erection. One is inability to sustain an erection. So those are the two main things. So we have causes like venogenic ED. That is, the blood has to come into the penis by way of arteries.
Okay.
And it escapes out into the circulation by route of veins. So if the arterial flow is not good, or if the venous leak is very quick, then we can have erectile dysfunction. Similarly, premature ejaculation. So premature ejaculation, we have to realize what exactly the couple means by premature ejaculation. Many people we see come and tell we are having premature ejaculation. But when we go into the depth, we identify that they actually feel that they are not able to satisfy their partner. That is why they feel that they have premature ejaculation.
Okay.
But in fact, they are having good amount of intravaginal latency time, which we call.
Okay.
So these are the two main things: erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation.
So what is that average intravaginal latency time? That is one very question, which because many people, they don't understand that whether they are able to sustain this period for a long, but what is the benchmark for this? What are the common?
So that is what, So it's a very good question, because there is no, actually for defining purpose, we have some benchmarks.
Okay.
But exactly, if you go into the reproductive, means sexual history of the husband and wife, if you find out that one, there is no clear-cut definition for premature ejaculation.
Okay.
It is not that if you stay for 5 minutes, it is normal, and if you ejaculate within 3 minutes, it is abnormal. It is not like that.
Okay.
So the main thing is whether the male partner is getting the pleasure and whether the female partner is able to sustain get the pleasure. Okay. So for definition purpose, we have for 3 minutes, that is the cutoff. Okay. If the male is not able to ejaculate, means if the male is not able to stay inside the vagina even for 1 minute, then that is something which has to be looked into. That is called as primary premature ejaculation, where never they have been able to have a time of more than 1 minute. So that is something which we can improve. Up to 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, we can actually improve with medications and some counseling, all those things. Beyond 3 minutes, it is usually not possible to improve it with medications and counseling alone. We have to go into depth and identify what the male and the female want. So based on that, we have to tailor our treatment.
Okay, so there is no sub threshold or benchmark. It is rather on the person.
Yeah.
I mean, having the.
Yes.
I mean, explaining it in such a way that the husband and wife both are having the pleasure, rather than sticking it to a specific timeline
Yes.
that we have to reach it out to there.
Yes.
That time.
Yes. So we cannot tell that there is only a time definition for intravaginal. As you asked, what is the normal IVLT? There is nothing like a normal thing. Even though we have cutoff, because we have to identify what is the problem, what is the level of the problem, what is the depth of the problem. For that we have cutoffs, but we don't tell that. See, now it is 1 minute, you will reach 3 minutes, and then next after time you will become 5 minutes. That is not what we give to patients. We actually identify what the most of the time it will be the female partner who is like. The one more very important thing which at this point I want to tell is everybody thinks only about the male. So they say we have erectile dysfunction premature, but nobody thinks how the female is getting the pleasure. Definitely. So that part has to be that is very important, and couple interview, that is very important in the treatment of sexual dysfunction. So we have to interview the female partner. We have to exactly what is the problem happening with you, why you are having what exactly you are facing. So at that time we will identify that the wife is coming out with some new points which will help us in the treatment. So it is not just one consultation which we decide everything. It is actually a series of things. Only the male partner will come first. We will do some investigations. Actually in andrology we do the office sildenafil test. So give you a T5 inhibitor and we assess what is the erection. And if a patient complains of low intravaginal latency time, then we ask them to, if they are comfortable, masturbate in the clinic and see how much time duration they can extend with the medication. This assessment is important because in order to treat premature ejaculation, we should be confident that the erection is happening good. So many a time we have also the tool to assess this. We have the erection hardness score. So it is called the EHS. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 classes. So 4 is very rigid and it is like a log of wood. So that much rigidity will be there. 1 is very placid. So we give the EHS scale to the patient and we ask them what is your erection level. And we give the medication and ask them if it has improved. So many men come with premature ejaculation. In the end, we identify it is erectile dysfunction. So unless this distinction is made, the treatment is not going to be complete.
Definitely. One simple question here, Dr. Karthikeyan. Are the patients able to convey the problems what they're having, or you being an andrologist, you also need to actually get out of them the actual problems what they're facing? Maybe sometimes they're not able to explain the problem.
Yes. Yeah. It's a very common thing which we see in andrology. It's like they come, many people read the net and come, they discuss with their peers. They will come to the OPD and sit and they immediately tell, I have premature ejaculation, treat it. Then we will ask, don't use medical terms. Then as like in any other disease, we ask them, you tell me what is happening. Then he will tell, I am not able to stay inside the vagina for a long time. Then we again go deep. What is your erection? How much time you take for getting an erection? Whether you are able to maintain your erection. Recently, of late, have you seen a decrease in erection? Do you take medications? Many people would have tried medications. They won't even tell that. Okay. So with the medications, how is it? Without medications, how is it? Okay. If you give a long time gap between if there is a lot of abstinence, say 10 to 12 days, how is your erection? Do you have any mental stress? If you have everyday sex, let us say they're trying for a baby, if you have everyday sex, whether you're getting erection. There are so many, we have at least 15 to 20 questions which we ask them. Then we identify that there is a different problem altogether. Maybe an erectile dysfunction rather than a premature ejaculation.
Okay. So, Dr. Karthikeyan, you being an andrologist and an expert in the men's sexual health and reproductive health, can you, brief the audience out here? What are the ways to improve the male sexual performance?
Okay. So, in order to improve the sexual performance, again and again, we have been telling that there are 2 categories. One is the erectile function and one is delaying the ejaculation. Okay. So, for improving the erectile function, medications also work, but the main work of the andrologist is not to prescribe medications. It is to give the idea to the patient that naturally you can have some improvement in erection with some lifestyle changes, diet patterns, all those things. So for premature ejaculation, it is going to be some behavioral therapies, doing some Kegel exercises to improve the pelvic floor.
Okay.
It can also be like following some start-stop technique, that is to stay inside the vagina, and when the feeling of ejaculation comes, to wait inside the vagina, that is stop, and again start after the feeling has come down.
Okay.
And there is also a technique called squeeze therapy. And also we have the sensate focus, that is desensitizing the thought that only the penovaginal intercourse will give the full pleasure.
Okay.
So it has been identified that not only penovaginal intercourse, women actually have orgasm even with stimulation of the body parts, private parts, all those things. This information has to be passed on to the patient.
Definitely.
If a patient comes with only premature ejaculation, after our evaluation, we identify they have only premature ejaculation, that the erectile hardness score is 4. And even with the tablet, they feel that they could have a better erection in the house. They are not able to have any improvement in erection. That means they're already normal.
Okay.
In those patients, we give them the therapy of sensate focus, start-stop therapy, and squeeze therapy. So these are the ways which are behavioral therapies. And for exercise, anyway, to have a good erection, we advise exercises, and also Kegel's exercises to improve the pelvic floor tone. So these are the methods to improve the ejaculatory time.
Okay.
For erection, we assess whether they have comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, all those things. If they are smokers or tobacco users, we ask them to curtail that. We ask them, how much walk do you do every day? What is your diet pattern? How much carbohydrate you take? How much proteins you take? And what is your lifestyle? How stressed you are? So whether you are doing a business, if you come back, so many people who are business people, they come. Then we ask them, after you come home, whether you have to keep thinking about the business.
Yes.
Whether you keep getting phone calls, whether phone calls divert you, whenever you are trying for some, you're making mood, then at the time is the phone diverting you. Even go to the depth and ask them how many members are there in the family, how many rooms you have, whether you have a private area for your spending time with your wife, whether you have somebody to take care of your children. So all these questions are to be answered, because we will be getting people who have one very common time when men come with erectile dysfunction is after the childbirth, especially after the second childbirth or the third child sometimes.
Why
So
not?
at that time, right, because in the peripartum period, actually because of the hormones, the wife's libido will be reduced and they will be interested in taking care of the child. There will be another child, already elder child, then the second child, sometimes the third. Then the mother is totally preoccupied in that.
Okay.
So he is not interested. So these things. So at that time, we identify these factors and we tell them, take care of all these things. It will improve by 50%. Then additionally, do exercise, 45 minutes of walking or jogging every day. At least around, say, 150 minutes of brisk walk or aerobic exercise every week. Every week, it should be 150 minutes. It can be over a period of 4 to 5 days also. Reduce the carbohydrate intake and improve the protein intake. Then de-stress yourself, do yoga, meditation, or all those things. And don't get stressed about your business or whatever personal things while doing that, because even if you do at that time, if you think at that time about something else, that is not going to have any impact. Rather, you are not going to have an impact on the business also, and this act of intercourse also is not going to satisfy you. So we also try to give some psychogenic counseling. So as part of the erectile dysfunction treatment, we give them counseling, we give them medications, lifestyle advice, diet advice, all those things combined, we give them to improve the sexual performance. And if they have premature ejaculation in addition, then we also give them the treatment as I told for premature ejaculation. The last thing, so I told you that we will be doing the office sildenafil test. So many men come with poor erection. They feel we don't have erection at all. When we give the tablet in the clinic, they see for themselves that they are getting a very good erection. So that will improve the confidence of the patient. Once he goes back, he is very confident that he is going to have an erection with the medications, and with the lifestyle changes which we are doing, automatically they will start improving their erections, and after some time we eventually stop the medications.
Okay.
But if there is a real cost, like if there is a poor blood flow or some neurogenic problem like post-operative status, let us say radical prostatectomy, or some rectal operation has happened when the nerves have been damaged. These are different situations. So for that, we have different treatment. We have injections, we have operations. But most of the time, when there is a mild erectile dysfunction because of aging, let us say there are everybody ages, everybody's blood flow starts reducing. But that can be improved by giving these treatments. And this in turn reduces the risk for heart disease and stroke.
So I think psychological consultation also plays a vital role because, as you said,
No.
lots of time if their emotional strength is boosted and they think that yes, that they can perform, they can definitely perform. Rather than thinking that they may not perform, it is actually going to affect the entire thing in a very negative way.
So there have been many patients who visit the psychiatrist for this.
Okay.
Personally, we won't send them to a psychiatrist because it gives a negative impact about themselves. So if we feel that there is depression, if we feel there is a lot of problem which is causing this, then we will take an opinion.
Okay.
Otherwise, usually we give the treatment, we give the counseling, and maybe unofficially we take some psychiatric opinion. We just discuss with the psychiatrist and we give the advice, but we generally don't send them because they will think the other way. Yes.
Because again, mental problems and psychological are still treated as like people think that, oh, there is something very serious about it. While like Western and developed countries where it is like a normal OPD, the way people are sitting for
Exactly.
there are people sitting for their mental psychological sessions with the psychologist. But here in India, it's still a taboo to go and visit a psychologist.
Yeah. So it will become the negative way. Then they won't even think about what we're telling. So they won't visit us. So we won't get that thing. Yes.
So thank you so much, Dr. Karthikeyan, for joining us at this reproductive health and sexual series at MediCircle. Two very important things which I would like to pick up from your session today. One is that females should also be getting, they should be also getting that kind of feeling that yes, we should be getting an orgasm, and their level of satisfaction is equally important. So the male counterparts must be starting giving them that importance that yes, in a sexual relationship, the female is also equally contributing and she also has the right to get the orgasm, to get the pleasure, which females are mostly avoiding discussing also. Even getting it is still a far dream, but yes, even discussion is not there among many couples. The second most important thing which I liked, which you rightly said, that self-medication is a problem. As you said, lot of patients come to you with self-medication. They have already self-medicated them with a lot of drugs and medicines, and then they are coming to you, and you might be telling them, though, no, this is not the way, or either you should be doing lifestyle changes, yoga, meditation, and boosting their emotional content so that they are able to perform. So I think these are the two very important things which you rightly said. I think our viewers would be definitely glad to know more about it, especially the male audience, that if there are problems, definitely they may approach the sexologist or the sex expert rather an andrologist, as you said, because it is the need of the hour that they should be talking to people like you and get their queries sorted. So once again, thanks, Dr. Karthikeyan, for this sharing on this very less talk but most searched topic on the net. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So because being a sexual and reproductive health awareness day, I think the male should understand that they equally, as you told, they should be ready to understand that the female also has to undergo what they are undergoing. So that is very important. And similarly, in the treatment of infertility also, the male partner has to come forward and get his semen tested to see whether he is all right before going in for the treatment of the female partner. So that is also an additional point which everybody has to know.
And one small thing before just closing the session, I think young male are under a lot of pressure to perform. I think it is not on the females, it is rather on the male counterpart. So do you have anything for the young people who are watching this out, especially the males, if they are in nervous conditions, or if they are not able to perform, if they are feeling that, oh, I'm not able to do this. So what is your advice to them?
Yeah. So this is a very big question actually, because like we have a premarital checkup kind of thing, which is mainly aimed at giving the confidence to the young male who is going to get married
Okay.
or who has attempted before marriage and he thinks whether he wants to check whether everything is okay. So
Okay.
that trend is coming up both in the men and women. Most of the people who come who are unmarried, they come with erectile dysfunction. Then we ask them, how come you know that you are having erectile dysfunction? So then they slowly come out with the answer that they have had an extra premarital contact or something like that. So they have to realize very important things. So after marriage, once you get the license, then you attempt. That situation is totally different from a unplanned thing or when it is done out of fear, out of tension. So that is not the time to assess whether you're able to perform. Second thing, when people are going to get married, they may feel their erections are poor. But if you have been having good erections, if you say very basic tests like sugar, creatinine, hemoglobin are normal, there is no need to worry. Third thing, if you have a doubt, go and meet a medical doctor. Get the basic investigations done. And if you come to an andrologist, we also do the office sildenafil test to show them that everything is fine. Even there are some people who, even in the hospital also, they will not have an erection. We give them go home and try the medication and come. Then also they say no, we are not getting any erection. So it's very stressed. So at that time, we keep counseling them. We do the basic hormone panel and all those things. And then we give the injection therapy. That is, we inject in the office and see with a minimal dose, they will get a very good erection. Then we tell them, see, you are very stressed, you are very anxious.
Okay.
At this rate, you will find it very difficult to have intercourse with your wife once you get married. So cool down yourself, calm yourself. You are all normal. Don't worry. So that part of treatment is very important. And we also see men who come with problems like semenuria or post ejaculation weakness. So all these things. So it is very important that we do the basic tests. Without test, if we tell, nobody will understand or realize. So we show them, these are your reports. Everything is fine. Why are you worrying? Be confident. Then if needed, you take the help of medications for maybe a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. And the most important point is, if the man doesn't perform on the day one, that is the first day or the first week, then the problem actually becomes, it multiplies in severity. Then if you give medications also, they are not going to, because they are very preoccupied, very stressed. So that is why we're telling, if you have a doubt, clarify it around the time of marriage. If you want, with the medications, you try the initial 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because then they get the confidence. Once the confidence is there, then nobody can stop them.
Okay. So, Dr. Karthikeyan, as you raised a very important fad, which is picking up normally, like male and females going for premarital tests. So, as an health expert, what are your views about it?
Okay. So there is no need to do all tests like a full-fledged health checkup. That is not necessary. But in the modern era, at least every man wants to be sure that the wife is not suffering from major problems, and everybody is not ready to believe the others. So that concept is coming up. So we have a virology screen. We have basic tests like hemoglobin, sugar, and creatinine.
Okay.
And if the man is obese or if they are addicted to smoking, all those things, if the sugar is borderline or something, then we do lipid profile. So these are the basic things. We also ask them whether you have any breathlessness on exertion and whether you're able to climb 2 flights of stairs within 10 to 15 seconds. That is an indirect assessment. So that climbing 2 flights of stairs within 10 seconds is equivalent to having a sexual act. So whether your heart is able to take that much load. So these are the basic things. And we also have the basic erection hardness score. All this, based on these things, we can come to a fair conclusion. If some men want, or if the man is little older, or if the premarital checkup clinical examination shows the testis size is small or there is a varicocele, then we advise semen analysis. So these are the main components of the premarital checkup in male. In women, similarly, the gynecologist will see usually same thing, hemoglobin, sugar, and they ask them about their cycles, how their regularity of the cycles, number of days of flow, and if they are obese, if they have hirsutism, say unwanted male pattern hair, and obesity. If all these things are done, then we have to look for PCOD and similar things which can cause ovulatory problems. Because after marriage, the wife is more worried about the ovulatory problems and periods, while the male is more worried about the erectile dysfunction. So these are the major things which we focus on premarital checkup in men and women. It's not a mandatory thing, but if there are two special situations, if there has already been a failed marriage because of any other reason, or if the male partner's age is above 35 or the female partner's is around more than 30, 31, then I think it is wise to take a health checkup, because this is the age when problems creep in. If especially there is a failed marriage in the male or even in the female for that matter, it is better to do the test because you are very sure that you are all okay. So it is easier for you and more confident for you to enter the marital life.
Sure. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Karthikeyan, for joining us and answering the questions. I hope our viewers would be getting a lot of ideas and information on the topics what we discussed today. Thank you.